And again, it's all a matter of like, where is your head? It's like, if I'm thinking nerves, you think nerves, right? And then you don't think about the other stuff. And then if you're thinking muscles, you think muscles, and then you forget about the nerves.
Yes, I do. Thank you. I was going through some notes and I forgot we were talking about neurodynamics in class. Just out of curiosity, how does that play into your model? Because when I think of just like for like flossing, we were going over like flossing techniques and stuff.
Yeah.
The analogy I thought of was like when you have like someone with like Achilles tendinosis and they're like really pushed forward and they try and stretch it type of thing. Is that kind of the same scenario where it's like you need to really focus on the orientation and just stretching it is not really gonna.
Okay, so are you doing sliders or are you doing tensioners? So you have to say it like that because that's David Butler, because he talks about sliders and tensioners. So which one are you doing?
Oh God, which one's?
Hang on.
Which one's? Yeah.
Hang on. Okay, so sliders are like an arm going through a sleeve. So you put your arm in the sleeve of your coat and your arm slides through the sleeve. Okay. A tensioner is when you pull on both ends of the nerve to get it to improve its tolerance to tension. So tensioners come later in the game. So you know how nerves get sensitized, right? So I put inflammatory chemicals on them and I irritate them, and then they become sensitized to movement. And so one of the things you have to do with after you get the nerve to actually move, okay, you need to actually get it used to being under tension again, because nerves are always under tension. They get compressed. You're sitting on your nerves right now, and they are perfectly fine with it, right? But if I sensitize that, then they may not like it so much. And so again, you've got your sliders and your tensioners. The thing that and again, I'm regurgitating stuff from like Butler and Shacklock, that nerves like three things. They like movement, they like space, and they like blood flow. And if I do anything that compromises any of those, then I can make a nerve respond in an unfavorable manner, right? So if I have concentrically oriented muscle activity, what happens to blood flow? What happens to the excursions that are available to those nerves? You see what I'm getting at? And so it doesn't change how I reacquire positions and movement, but I can use neurodynamic testing in my favor to determine where the concentric orientation has the greatest influence on those types of symptoms, right? So somebody comes in, they go, Jordan, I get numbness and tingling in these three fingers, and then at nighttime, it's kind of painful, right? What nerve am I talking about?
Radial.
Strike one. Keep going. I'm on the palmar side, my friend. Radial's here. Ulnar. Strike two. That would be over here.
Median.
Yeah, he only had three choices. All right. So now we got to start thinking about, all right. So classically, everybody would say that, oh, it's the carpal tunnel that's creating the problem, right? Okay. But is it really the carpal tunnel? That's the problem. So what they do is they go in, it's a 5-minute surgery. They slice your hand open. They can do this in the ER. I got a buddy that does them all the time. They slice through the carpal ligament. They release the pressure. Everybody's all happy for a little while, even though they might still be symptomatic. Okay, but now we got to think about where does this nerve actually go through the arm? Okay, so it behooves you to understand the pathways, because especially the median nerve has this really cool pathway that actually slides right in between two heads of the same muscle, so to speak. It's not the same muscle, it's two muscles, but they call it one, right? Your peroneal arteries has two pieces to it, and the median nerve goes like right in between them, right? So if I had an orientation at the elbow, that would create concentric orientation or enough eccentric orientation to where there's like tension on the tissue that it would compress the nerve. That nerve no longer slides through the arm like a sleeve, right? Okay. And so again, nerves like three things. They like movement, they like blood flow, and they like space. And I just took away all of those, right? And so now I've got an angry little median nerve, but the symptoms show up down here. But that's what can happen. But if you think about your flossing, what you want to look at is follow the pathway of the nerve. And again, the associated musculature will restrict its movement. Okay. The flossing activities can be beneficial because the nerve has to move. But if you've got concentric orientation that is interfering, if you alleviate that, many cases, no flossing required. You use your neurodynamic tests that they teach you in school. I hope they taught you how to do those. Yes?
Lower extremity.
They didn't teach you upper extremity?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. All right. So you use your neurodynamic tests as confirmation. The thing that you want to recognize is that the neurodynamic tests are also, they are also demonstrative of the excursion, right? They may not be symptomatic, right? So if you do like a straight leg raise with the medial plantar nerve bias, right? So you're dorsiflexed and everted through the foot as you do the test. What you may find is that the excursion of the straight leg raise is less in that position, but it doesn't hurt and it doesn't give them symptoms. You take away the tension, okay? You take away the bias, you do the straight leg raise, and you got like 15 more degrees of excursion. That's a positive test to let you know that you've got a limitation that's associated with the concentric orientation of the musculature that's influencing that nerve excursion. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Okay. So even though it's not symptomatic by neurologic standards, you can still use those tests to help you determine where you have concentric orientation issues. Okay.
That was gold. That's awesome. Because I didn't know how to apply that using like this model. I really,
because I think the expectation under these circumstances is that you would expect, and again, it's all a matter of like, where is your head? It's like, if I'm thinking nerves, you think nerves, right? And then you don't think about the other stuff. And then if you're thinking muscles, you think muscles, and then you forget about the nerves. And you got to say, well, what is this interaction? Like, what would happen under these circumstances if I didn't have the excursion available to me? What would be the limitation? So I do it the same way, right? So if I have limitations in an ER measure, I know I've got a posterior compressive strategy somewhere that I need to alleviate. Based on my measures, it tells me where to go, it tells me what activities to do. And then I can go back and I can actually check my neurodynamic tests as a representation of, did I alleviate the concentric orientation that was causing the problem in the first place? It works really, really well. You see it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And so you don't necessarily need those numbness and tingling. Hypothetically, like if I was like
if they have that symptom, then you have a much bigger representation to work with here as far as what symptoms you want to alleviate. It's not just, granted, you want the full excursion back. So like if you're doing like a median nerve bias neurodynamic test and you get a limitation, like you get the limitation at the elbow or you get the limitation at the wrist, right? Number one, you've got an excursion problem there, but if it reproduces a specific symptom, now it becomes a much more useful test because I need to alleviate that symptom and capture the movement or positional representation, right?
That was really, really helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.